The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched farther than the human eye could measure. Towering spires of crystal light pierced the ceiling, while banners of alien empires shimmered above the assembly. Representatives of 100 species filled the chamber, each voice a thread in the vast fabric of interstellar politics. And yet on that day, one voice was weaker than the rest. Humanity's commander Adrian Vera, seated in the human delegation's platform, clenched his fists beneath the polished table. His dark eyes scanned the hall as the council speaker, a tall insectoid being with translucent wings, raised its arms for silence. "The matter is decided," the speaker declared, its echoing voice amplified through hidden systems. "The expansion of humanity into further sectors is hereby forbidden. All long-range colonization fleets must be recalled. All orbital shipyards are to limit construction to civilian class only. This decree is for the safety of all species." A ripple of agreement spread across the chamber. Many alien representatives nodded, some out of genuine belief, others out of silent fear. Adrian's throat tightened. He had expected restrictions, but not something so absolute. He tapped the table control, activating his delegation's right to speak. "On behalf of Earth and her colonies," Adrian said, his voice firm though his chest ached with anger, "humanity cannot agree to such limits. We have the same right to the stars as any other species. We have shed blood and sweat to build our future among them." A murmur ran through the chamber. Some council members leaned forward curious. Others clicked mandibles or twitched frills in disapproval. The speaker responded calmly, though its multifaceted eyes glittered cold. "Commander Vera, humanity's ambition threatens balance. Your rapid growth unchecked risks conflict. The Council seeks peace. You must trust our judgment." Adrian rose halfway from his seat. "Peace is not built on chains. If exploration is forbidden for us while others expand freely, then that is not balance, it is control." Gasps echoed. A few alien representatives stared at him in disbelief, as though no human had ever dared to speak so directly before. But before Adrian could say more, his microphone cut off. The Council's override authority silenced him. The decree was finalized with a glowing seal of energy above the chamber. The matter in their eyes was closed, the weight of silence. Later, back in the human embassy dome orbiting the Council's central world, Adrian sat alone. He stared at the stars through the curved glass ceiling. His thoughts churned like storms. The Council had offered no evidence that humanity posed a danger. They had spoken only in vague words: balance and safety, order. Yet the restrictions were precise, targeted, and harsh. Ambassador Elaine Corwin, humanity's official diplomat, entered quietly. Her gray hair caught the reflection of the stars as she approached. "You spoke bravely," she said softly, taking the seat across from him. "But bravery changes little here." They had already decided before the meeting began. Adrian's jaw tightened. Then this was theater. "A show to make us bow." Elaine gave a slow nod. "Yes, the Council fears us, Adrian. Not because of what we have done, but because of what we might do. Humanity grows fast, too fast for their comfort, then why lie?" Adrian asked, his voice low. "Why cloak fear in speeches of safety?" Elaine looked weary, the weight of decades of politics on her shoulders. "Because admitting fear would admit weakness. The Council survives by convincing the galaxy that it knows best." Adrian leaned forward, lowering his voice. "What if their lies go deeper? What if this decree is only the beginning?" Elaine said nothing, but the silence in her eyes was answer enough. Shadows of truth that night, Adrian could not sleep. He returned to the embassy's data chamber, accessing restricted transmissions. As a military commander, he had clearance for records the diplomats did not see. Scrolling through archives, he noticed patterns. Reports of resource shortages in distant sectors. Yet raw data showed those resources stockpiled, not depleted. Claims that human patrol fleets had interfered with alien trade routes, but the logs showed human ships never leaving assigned paths. Piece by piece, a picture emerged. The Council's narrative was crafted, not discovered. Then Adrian found something more disturbing: a hidden file, buried within layers of security, carried a seal of the Security Directorate, the Council's secretive enforcement branch. Inside, fragments of intercepted transmissions revealed discussions of humanity's containment. The words chilled him. Expansion must be curbed before they surpass expected growth. Their adaptability is dangerous. Better to chain them now, before they rise too high. Adrian's pulse thundered in his ears. They did not fear humanity's violence. They feared humanity's potential. He shut down the terminal, his hands trembling. The Council had lied not just to humanity but to the galaxy, and if the truth spread, their authority would crumble. The first sparks. The next day, Adrian met with Elaine again. He placed a data chip on the table between them. "I found proof," he said. Elaine hesitated before picking it up. She read the fragments, her expression darkening. When she finally looked up, her voice was hushed. "This is dangerous. If we expose it, the Council will brand it a forgery. They will call it human deceit. The galaxy already whispers that we are reckless. Evidence alone may not be enough." "Then we need more," Adrian replied. His tone was sharp, but beneath it was a quiet resolve. "We need to show not only that they lie, but why they lie." Elaine studied him. "That path is not diplomacy. It is rebellion." Adrian met her gaze. "Maybe rebellion is the only language the Council respects." Whispers in the colony's news of the decree spread quickly across human colonies. On Mars, in the domes of New Dawn, colonists muttered bitterly in cafes and corridors. In the asteroid belt, miners cursed that their children would never see new worlds. On Titan, teachers struggled to explain to young students why the stars were now forbidden. Messages began to flow between colonies and Earth. Some urged patience, others called for defiance. But in all voices there was a growing anger. One message, intercepted and read by Adrian in the embassy, stood out. "They fear us because we grow. If we bow now, we will bow forever." Adrian felt the words echo in his chest. Humanity's patience was breaking. The calm, before the storm. Weeks later, Adrian stood again in the Council chamber, though this time as an observer, not a speaker. The Council discussed minor disputes between other species, but his mind drifted. He looked at the alien leaders, each draped in symbols of power, each speaking as though their authority was eternal. But Adrian knew the truth now. Their power was built on lies. Lies that could no longer hold forever. He thought of humanity, the farmers on distant colonies, the engineers building ships in hidden docks, the children gazing at stars they might never reach. Something inside him hardened. The Council believed humanity would bend, that humanity would accept chains for the sake of peace, but Adrian knew better. Humanity's spirit was fire, and fire did not bow. Closing of Part 1A as Adrian left the chamber, the speaker's voice echoed behind him, declaring another decree, another command, another lie. But Adrian no longer heard it as law, he heard it as warning. For in his heart he felt what was coming. Humanity's rage was building, slowly, quietly, but unstoppable. And when it boiled over, the galaxy would never be the same. The days after the Council's decree were heavy with silence, but not the silence of peace. It was the silence of waiting storms. Across the colonies, whispers spread faster than official orders. Miners in the belt muttered that the Council wanted their resources but not their freedom. Farmers on Mars said the Council wanted their food but not their voices. Shipbuilders on Titan asked why their hands were allowed to build, but their dreams were forbidden to fly. Everywhere, humanity began to ask the same question: why should we obey? Raids in the dark Adrian Vera, still stationed at the human embassy orbiting the Council's core world, received urgent reports late one night. The messages came encrypted, routed through multiple channels. Colonial convoy attacked in Sector Theta 4. The transmission began. Council patrols claimed they were pirates. Survivors report otherwise. Attackers bore Council markings. Adrian's heart sank as he read the details. Cargo vessels carrying medical supplies had been destroyed. Families fleeing from one colony to another had been forced into escape pods, drifting in the void until a human frigate rescued them. He cross-checked the survivors' testimony with official Council reports. The pirates described by the Council matched perfectly with the fleet code signatures of Council security ships. It was no mistake. It was no accident. The Council had attacked and then lied. Adrian felt the fire of anger burn deeper in his chest. They had not only restricted humanity, they had now begun to punish humanity for resisting. The ambassador's warning. The next morning, Adrian confronted Ambassador Elaine Corwin in her private office. She looked pale, as though she already knew what he had discovered. "Elaine," Adrian said firmly, placing the survivor's report on her desk. The Council is no longer just lying. They are attacking us. Colonists died and they hid it behind false words. Elaine closed her eyes for a long moment, then whispered, "I warned you this would happen." Adrian leaned forward, his voice hard. "Then we cannot stay silent. We must tell our people the truth. Every colony must know what the Council is doing." Her gray eyes were sharp with pain. "If we spread this openly, the Council will brand us traitors. They will move against Earth itself. You must understand, Adrian, the galaxy does not trust us. They see us as ambitious, restless. The Council's propaganda already paints us as dangerous. If we shout too loud, we may prove them right in the eyes of others." "Prove them right?" Adrian echoed bitterly. "Or prove that they fear us because we cannot be broken." Elaine pressed her hands together, her voice breaking slightly. "Do not mistake courage for recklessness. If humanity rises too soon, we may rise alone." Adrian wanted to argue, but her words lingered. She was not wrong. The galaxy was watching, silent but suspicious. If humanity acted rashly, no one would stand beside them. But if humanity stayed silent, then the Council's lies would tighten like chains until no hope remained. The broken colony 2 weeks later, another message arrived. This one from the distant colony of Nereus 9, a water world orbiting a dim star. Adrian's breath caught as he read the message. The colony had been destroyed, not by natural disaster, not by pirates. Survivors said they saw Council destroyers in orbit. They claimed the Council accused the colony of illegal ship construction. But Nereus 9 had been a civilian world. Its people were farmers, fishermen, and teachers. No shipyards, no fleets. Nothing to justify destruction. The survivors were scattered across escape pods, rescued only by luck and passing traders. This time, Adrian felt no hesitation. He gathered the data and brought it to Elaine again. "This cannot be hidden," he said sharply. "The Council murdered civilians. If we do not show the truth, then we are complicit." Elaine's face was lined with sorrow. "Do you think I do not grieve with you? But if we strike too soon—" "No," Adrian cut in. "There is no too soon. This is the moment. This is the spark." The gathering of commanders Adrian sent coded signals through hidden networks, reaching out to trusted military officers across the colonies. Weeks later, they met in secret aboard a disguised freighter orbiting a barren moon. The room was dim, the hum of the ship masking their voices. Around the table sat men and women from every human fleet: the Martian Defense Force, the Belt Guard, the Titan Patrol. Their faces were hard, their eyes burning with the same fire Adrian carried. He laid the evidence before them: intercepted Council orders, survivor testimonies, falsified reports. Piece by piece, he showed how the Council had betrayed them. When the last file flickered into silence, the room was still. Then Commander Rika Tan of the Martian Defense Force spoke. "My father died on Nereus 9, she said quietly. Her voice trembled, but her eyes did not. "The Council killed him, then lied to us. I will not bow to murderers." Another officer, Captain Jiro Malik of the Belt Guard, slammed his fist on the table. "Enough whispers. Enough waiting. If the Council wants us chained, then we must break the chains ourselves." One by one, the commanders voiced their agreement. Humanity could no longer pretend loyalty. The Council had crossed the line. Adrian rose to his feet. "Then it begins here. Not open war, not yet, but truth. We will gather more proof, protect our colonies, and prepare for the storm. When humanity rises, we will rise united." The Council's propaganda, even as Adrian and his allies planned, the Council moved swiftly. Broadcasts spread across the galaxy, painting humanity as dangerous. "Humans expand without care for balance," declared one message. "Human fleets provoke conflict with peaceful neighbors," said another. "Human colonies defy regulation and endanger stability." Images of human aggression were displayed, most of them twisted or outright fabricated. The Council showed clips of human ships firing in defense, cut to appear like unprovoked attacks. They showed edited recordings of human leaders speaking passionately, twisted to sound like threats. Across the galaxy, many species turned away from humanity, unwilling to question the Council. But among humanity's colonies, the propaganda only fueled rage. Families who had lost loved ones knew the truth. Workers who had seen raids firsthand refused to believe the lies. Whispers of betrayal turned into open talk of rebellion. The secret fleets, in the hidden shipyards of the asteroid belt. Engineers began to work in silence. Under the cover of civilian projects, they built something new. Ships stronger, faster, sharper. Vessels designed not for trade but for defense. On Titan, scientists experimented with hybrid designs, mixing human innovation with scraps of alien technology. They tested new shields, new drives, new weapons. Quietly, carefully, but with growing determination. Everywhere, humanity prepared. They did not declare war, but they sharpened their tools. Adrian's resolve one evening, Adrian returned to his quarters, exhausted. He looked out at the stars, his reflection faint against the window. He thought of Earth, the blue home that still shone like a jewel. He thought of the colonies scattered like seeds across the dark. He thought of the Council, wrapping its lies like a cloak around the galaxy. And he thought of the survivors, those who had watched their homes burn, who had drifted in pods waiting for rescue, who had lost families to the Council's cruelty. His fists clenched. Enough, he whispered. He knew the path ahead was dangerous. Humanity was small compared to the vast Council fleets. Alone, they could not win. But Adrian also knew something deeper. Humanity had always been underestimated. They had survived on harsh worlds, turned barren rocks into homes, crossed oceans and voids with stubborn hope. They were not strongest in numbers nor in weapons, but in spirit, and spirit could not be chained. The promise weeks later, Adrian stood once more before the secret council of commanders. He spoke with a voice that carried through the dim room, steady and strong. The council believes they have silenced us. They believe fear and propaganda will break us. But they are wrong. Humanity will not bow. Humanity will not break. We will gather strength. We will protect our people. And when the time comes, he paused, his eyes burning with fire, we will show the galaxy the truth. Not with words, with proof, with courage, with unity. Let them call us reckless. Let them call us dangerous. We will prove to them what we truly are. Free. The commanders rose with him, voices joining, hands clenched. A vow was made in that small hidden room, a vow that would one day shake the stars. The galaxy's heart still believed in the Council's words. On the surface, order remained. Trade routes flowed, ambassadors gave speeches, and peace was spoken like a sacred chant. But in the shadows, beneath the surface of calm, sparks had begun to glow, and those sparks belonged to humanity. Hidden meetings, in the silence of space, far from Council sensors, small groups of human ships gathered. They met in asteroid fields behind barren moons, and in the shadows of gas giants. Each meeting carried the same purpose, to prepare for the storm. Commander Adrian Vera often stood at the center of these meetings. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried the weight of truth. He showed the commanders and captains the evidence: Council raids, destroyed colonies, twisted propaganda. Every time he spoke, the silence grew heavier. And every time he finished, the resolve in the room grew stronger. Captain Jiro Malik, the blunt leader of the Belt Guard, spoke one night after Adrian's presentation. We have been patient long enough. If the Council strikes again, we cannot sit idle. We must answer. Adrian nodded slowly. Yes, but we must strike wisely. If we move too soon, we will be crushed. But if we wait too long, we will be strangled. We need balance, an ironic word. The same word the Council had used against humanity. But now humanity sought their own balance. Between survival and defiance, propaganda and doubt on Earth, life seemed calm. Children played in fields, ships crossed oceans, and cities glowed at night. But even on Earth, whispers grew. People asked why colonies were being attacked, why the Council placed restrictions on them alone, why humans were painted as reckless when their people were dying quietly in the void. News networks were divided. Some repeated the Council's words, warning that human ambition was dangerous. Others began to hint at deeper truths. Adrian watched these broadcasts from the embassy and felt both hope and fear. Hope because the truth was spreading. Fear because the Council would not allow such whispers for long. A message from the shadows one evening. Adrian received a secret transmission, routed through untraceable channels. The voice on the other end was alien, not human but low and resonant, carrying both caution and urgency. You do not know me, the voice said, but I know you. I have seen what your Council does to you, and I tell you this, they have lied to more than just your people. Adrian leaned forward, heart racing. Who are you? A friend, the voice answered simply. My species has suffered under their weight as well. But unlike yours, we are scattered, silenced. We cannot rise. Yet we see you. We see humanity's fire. Perhaps you will succeed where others have failed. Before Adrian could ask more, the transmission ended. He sat in silence, staring at the empty screen. If this message was true, then humanity was not alone. Others suffered, others doubted. Humanity's rebellion might not only be for themselves, it might be the first step of something larger. The first spark came sooner than expected. A human patrol fleet guarding the colony of Helios 4 detected a Council enforcement squadron entering their system. The Council ships carried inspection orders, claiming to search for illegal shipbuilding. But when the human patrol requested proof, the Council ships opened fire. The battle was small but fierce. Human frigates darted between asteroids using speed and surprise. Council destroyers, larger but slower, struggled to keep up. For the first time, humanity fought back, not as victims but as defenders. When the smoke cleared, 2 Council ships were destroyed and the rest fled. The news spread like wildfire. Across the colonies, people whispered in awe. For the first time, human ships had stood against the Council and survived. The debate but victory brought danger. In the secret meeting halls, commanders argued fiercely. Some wanted to escalate, to strike openly and declare independence. Others urged patience, warning that the Council's fleet still outnumbered them. Adrian listened to every voice. Then he rose, calm but unyielding. We cannot fight the Council in open war. Not yet, he said. But we also cannot hide any longer. The galaxy must see the truth. Every attack, every raid, every false report, we will gather it and we will share it. Let the Council call us liars. We will drown their lies in proof. Rika Tan, the Martian commander whose father had died on Nereus 9, clenched her fists. And when they attack again? Adrian's eyes hardened. Then we will defend again. Stronger each time. The spark has already been lit. Now we must guard it until it becomes fire. Whispers turned to voices, the colonies stirred. On Mars, rallies formed where colonists demanded freedom to expand. On Titan, workers sang songs of defiance as they built secret ships. On belt stations, miners painted human flags on walls, declaring loyalty to no one but their own people. Even on Earth, where the Council's influence was strongest, students and workers began to question. Why do we bow? They asked. Why do we obey those who call us dangerous? The Council responded with harsher propaganda. They released new broadcasts claiming that humans had destroyed alien freighters, that humans planned to overthrow the Council, that humans were preparing weapons of mass destruction. But this time, fewer believed them. The lies were too many. The cracks in the Council's mask were widening. Secret alliances. One night, Adrian received another shadowed transmission. This time, the alien voice revealed a name. I am Varric of the Tharun, the voice said. My people once trusted the Council. They promised us safety, but they took our fleets, our trade, our freedom. We see now what they truly are. And we see you? Adrian's heart pounded. Then stand with us. A long silence followed. Not yet. We are weak, scattered. But know this, we watch. And when the moment comes, we will answer. The transmission ended, leaving Adrian both frustrated and hopeful. Humanity was not alone, but allies would not come quickly. They had to hold out until others were ready to rise. The fire grows. The next Council raid came at Luna Station, Earth's own satellite hub. The Council claimed to be inspecting weapons violations. But when human guards refused entry, the Council ships threatened bombardment. This time, Adrian himself was there. He stood in the command deck of the station, watching as Council warships glowed in the distance. Commander, a young officer said nervously. Orders? Adrian's jaw tightened. He could almost hear Elaine's warning voice in his mind. Do not rise too soon. But he also heard the voices of survivors, the cries of the colonies, the vow made by his fellow commanders. He gave the order, shields up, weapons ready. If they fire first, we answer. For long moments, silence stretched across the void. Then the Council ships opened fire. Luna Station shook, alarms blaring. But the human defenses responded swiftly. Lasers streaked across the black, missiles tore through the void. The battle raged for hours, but humanity held. 2 more Council ships were lost and Luna Station still stood. The fire was no longer hidden. Humanity had defied the Council openly. Adrian's burden. When the smoke cleared, Adrian stood at the viewport staring at the wreckage drifting in space. His officers cheered quietly, but his heart felt heavy. He knew what this meant. The Council would no longer pretend. They would brand humanity as rebels, as dangerous, as enemies of peace. But he also knew something else. The lie was breaking. The galaxy would hear of this battle. Some would believe the Council, but others would see the cracks, the contradictions, and some perhaps would finally dare to hope. Closing of Part 3A's, Adrian returned to his quarters. He looked once more at the stars. They were no longer silent. Humanity's fire had been lit. The first sparks had flown, and they would spread, carried on whispers and shouts alike. The Council still believed themselves strong, but Adrian knew the truth. A storm begins not with thunder but with sparks, and humanity had just set the galaxy alight. The galaxy no longer whispered. It argued, it doubted, it shouted. Humanity's defiance was no longer hidden in shadows. It had burst into the open like a flame spreading through dry fields, and the Council could not allow it to grow. The Council's decision, in the crystal halls of the Galactic Council. The speaker's wings shimmered as it addressed the assembly. Humanity has crossed the line, it declared. They have destroyed Council patrols. They have resisted lawful inspections. They seek war. We cannot allow this threat to endanger the balance of our galaxy. We must act. Many representatives cheered. Others remained silent, uneasy but afraid to stand against the Council's authority. Within hours, the Council approved the largest operation in centuries, a strike against Earth itself. They would not simply punish humanity. They would break it. Adrian's warning news of the Council's coming fleet reached Adrian Vera through secret channels. The warning came from Varric, the mysterious alien who had spoken to him before. "The Council moves against your home," Varric said. His deep voice carried both urgency and sorrow. "They will strike not at your colonies but at the heart, Earth. They believe that if Earth falls, your spirit will break." Adrian's chest tightened. Earth was not only humanity's birthplace, it was their symbol, the heart that united colonies across the stars. If Earth fell, everything might crumble. "How large is the fleet?" Adrian asked grimly. "Large enough to crush you," Varric answered. "But remember this, symbols are stronger than fleets. If you stand, others will see, and if you fall, others will remember." The transmission ended, leaving Adrian with the heavy weight of choice. Gathering the defenders, Adrian wasted no time. He sent calls across the colonies. Within weeks, fleets gathered around Earth. Martian destroyers, belt frigates, Titan cruisers, and Earth's own defense stations. The numbers were small compared to the Council's armada, but every ship carried determination stronger than steel. In the great orbital command center above Earth, Adrian stood before a hollow map of the system. Lights marked human ships in tight formation. Red markers showed the expected path of the Council fleet. Captain Jiro Malik grinned grimly as he studied the display. "Outnumbered 10-1. Just how we like it." Rika Tan, her eyes sharp and unflinching, added, "We are not fighting for numbers. We are fighting for Earth. That is worth more than any fleet." Adrian looked at them both, then at the officers surrounding the table. His voice was steady. "We cannot retreat. If Earth falls, humanity falls. We fight here and we fight together. Remember, this is not only for us. This is for every colony, every child, every life that looks to the stars with hope." The room echoed with agreement. Humanity would not bend. The Council arrives. The Council's fleet entered the system like a storm. Dozens of massive warships, their hulls gleaming with alien symbols, advanced in formation. Swarms of smaller craft darted around them like predators ready to strike. From Earth's surface, people looked to the skies and saw faint streaks of light like falling stars. Fear spread, but alongside it, resolve. This was their home. They would not surrender it. In the command center, alarms rang. Officers reported enemy numbers, weapon charges, shield frequencies. Adrian stood tall, his hands clasped behind his back. "Hold the line," he ordered. "No one fires until they fire first. Let the galaxy see who begins this war." The first strike, the Council fleet approached without words of warning. Then, without hesitation, they opened fire. Beams of light cut through the void, striking at human defenses. Orbital stations shook under the impact. Ships rocked as shields flared. Adrian's voice rang across the comms. "All fleets, return fire." The void erupted. Human missiles streaked across space, slamming into Council cruisers. Laser fire flashed like storms, ships weaving and dodging in desperate combat. Adrian's command ship, the Resolute Dawn, led the charge. From its decks, he watched as the first Council vessel exploded in brilliant fire. A cheer went up through the human channels, but the Council pressed harder. Their ships were larger, their numbers greater. For every Council ship destroyed, 2 more pushed forward. The turning point hours passed. Human ships fought with all their strength, but exhaustion grew. Entire squadrons were gone. Stations floated in ruin. Earth's defenders were bleeding. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, an officer cried out, "Commander, the line is breaking. We cannot hold much longer." Adrian clenched his jaw. He knew they could not outlast the Council. They needed something else, something unexpected. Then he remembered the secret projects in the Belt and Titan, the weapons built in silence, never tested in true battle. Desperation left him no choice. "Deploy the experimental systems," he ordered. Engineers activated the hidden devices, adaptive shields, hybrid drives, and new missile systems combining human creativity with fragments of alien knowledge. The effect was immediate. Human ships that had been on the verge of destruction suddenly endured. Missiles pierced through Council defenses that had once seemed impenetrable. Council captains faltered. For the first time, they realized humanity had grown beyond what they expected. Courage of the colony's reports poured in across the battle lines. A Martian squadron, nearly destroyed, rammed their ships into a Council cruiser, crippling it. Belt miners used converted haulers to launch explosive cargo into enemy formations. Titan cruisers executed maneuvers so daring that even seasoned Council commanders were caught off guard. Everywhere, humans fought not just with weapons, but with will. On Earth's surface, billions watched broadcasts of the battle. They saw their defenders bleeding yet standing. They saw Council ships falter, and in their hearts fear turned to pride. The Council falters, the battle stretched into a second day. Wreckage drifted across the void, fields of fire marking where ships had fallen. The Council expected humanity to break quickly. They had not prepared for resistance so fierce, so creative, so unyielding. One by one, Council ships fell back. Their commanders feared not just defeat, but humiliation. To be beaten by humanity, the youngest, most underestimated race, would shake the entire galaxy. Adrian seized the moment. "All fleets, push forward. Drive them out of our skies." With a roar of engines and fire, humanity surged. Council cruisers exploded, their formations broken. Finally, the Armada retreated, vanishing into the dark. Aftermath silence returned to the system, broken only by the hum of damaged ships and the cries of relief. Earth still stood. Humanity still breathed. Against all odds, they had won. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Adrian stared at the stars. His body was weary, but his spirit burned bright. "We did it," Captain Malik whispered. His voice carried both disbelief and joy. "We stood against them, and we won." Rika Tan placed a hand on the console, her eyes glistening. "My father would be proud." "All of them would." Adrian nodded slowly. "This is not the end. The Council will come again. But now the galaxy has seen. They said we were reckless. They said we were dangerous. They said we were weak. Today we proved them wrong." The galaxy watches news of the battle spread across the stars. Every species heard whispers of humanity's victory. Some dismissed it as luck. Others refused to believe it. But many, especially those who had long suffered under the Council's weight, listened carefully. If humanity could stand, perhaps others could too. Barak sent another transmission, his deep voice steady. "You have done what we could not. The Council bleeds and the galaxy sees. More will come. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. You are not alone anymore." Adrian listened in silence, then spoke softly. "Then let this be the beginning, not the end." Closing of Part 4 above Earth, wreckage drifted in silent testimony. Ships burned, stations floated damaged, but humanity remained. The Council had sought to break them with fire. Instead, they had forged them stronger. The boiling point had been reached. Rage was no longer quiet. It was a storm, and in that storm, humanity had found not only survival, but hope. The fires of battle had faded, but the echoes remained. Around Earth, wreckage still drifted. Damaged ships returned to dock. Millions mourned the fallen, yet pride rose higher than grief. The Council had come to break humanity. Instead, it was the Council's power that cracked. Whispers across the stars' news of Earth's defense spread quickly. At first, many species doubted. How could humanity, young and inexperienced, stand against the mighty Council fleet. But soon the truth could not be denied. Visual recordings, intercepted transmissions, and survivors' accounts told the same story. Humanity had not only endured but had forced the Council to retreat. On distant worlds, crowds whispered in markets. In hidden chambers, oppressed leaders discussed quietly. A dangerous idea grew in the hearts of many. If humanity could resist, why not us? The Council's lie of invincibility was shattered. The Council in panic in the golden halls of the Galactic Council. Anger and fear rippled. Representatives shouted over each other. "They humiliated us," one cried. "They have shattered order," another screamed. "We must destroy them entirely." But not all voices agreed. A few spoke with hesitation. "If we strike again and fail, others will follow their path." Already the whispers spread. "Humanity has planted seeds we cannot uproot." The speaker's wings trembled with rage. "Then we must crush them quickly. Show no weakness." But weakness had already been shown. The galaxy had seen it, and no decree could erase it. Humanity's resolve on Earth. Commander Adrian Vera stood before a massive crowd gathered in New Geneva. Billions watched through broadcasts across the colonies. Adrian's uniform was worn, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet his voice carried strength. "We were told we were reckless. We were told we were fragile. We were told we could never stand against the galaxy's might. Yet we stood. And when the Council came to break us, it was they who faltered." Cheers erupted. People waved flags, sang and cried with joy. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt united, not just by blood, but by destiny. Adrian continued, "But this is not only about us. Across the stars, others live under fear, under lies. The Council's power is not truth. It is not justice. It is control. And control can be broken. We will not conquer, we will not enslave, but we will not kneel. To every world that dreams of freedom, know this: you are not alone anymore." The roar of the crowd shook the city. New allies. Emerge weeks later, strange signals arrived. At first, humanity thought they were Council tricks, but soon, messages became clear. One came from the Veyari, a small aquatic species long taxed and silenced by the Council. Another from the Koran, a desert people forced to supply soldiers to Council armies. Even a few voices within the Council itself secretly reached out. They all asked the same question: will humanity stand with us if we rise? Adrian and the Human Assembly debated fiercely. Some feared another war would destroy them. Others argued they could not ignore the cries for freedom. At last, a decision was made. Humanity would not abandon those who sought hope. They would extend a hand, not as rulers, but as partners. And so small alliances began to form. Ships of alien design appeared beside human vessels. Quiet meetings became open declarations. The galaxy was changing. The Council strikes again, but the Council was not finished. Their pride demanded blood. A second fleet was prepared, larger than the first, gathered from every loyal species. They moved not for Earth but for Mars, hoping to shatter humanity's colonies and starve them into surrender. Adrian predicted the move. He ordered fleets to intercept near Jupiter, using moons and gravity wells as traps. When the Council fleet arrived, they found not weak colonies but a wall of resistance, human and alien together. The battle was fierce. Council ships pressed hard, but for the first time other species openly fought against them. Veyari ships unleashed torrents of energy from beneath Jupiter's storms. Koran raiders struck like desert winds, disabling Council supply craft. Together they forced the Council into retreat once more. The breaking of the Council, the defeats shook the Council to its core. Worlds once silent began to rebel. Taxes went unpaid. Garrisons were attacked. Protests filled once quiet streets. The Council attempted to crush these uprisings, but each victory cost them more than it gained. The illusion of their eternal rule was gone. In secret, some Council members began speaking of peace. Others still demanded humanity's destruction, but the unity they once held was broken. The lies they had told, that the Council was eternal, that resistance was hopeless, were exposed. And with every passing day, more voices cried for change. Humanity's choice. Adrian sat once more in the war room above Earth. Maps of rebellions, fleets, and colonies glowed before him. Captains and envoys argued over the future. Captain Jiro Malik leaned forward, fists on the table. We have the momentum. We should push now. Strike at the Council homeworld. End them before they recover. Rika Tan shook her head. We are not conquerors. If we destroy them completely, chaos will follow. Billions will suffer in the vacuum of power. Silence fell as all eyes turned to Adrian. He spoke slowly. The Council built its empire on lies. If we wish to be different, then our strength must come from truth. We will not replace one chain with another. We will build something new. His words carried weight. The room nodded in agreement. Humanity would not become what it hated. The dawn of a new council months later, history was made. On a neutral world, a grand gathering took place. Not the old council's chamber, but a new hall, built quickly by volunteers from many species. Representatives from dozens of worlds came, not as subjects, but as equals. Humanity stood among them, not above them. Adrian addressed the assembly. We cannot erase the past. Too many suffered under the lies of the old council. But we can shape the future. Let this new alliance be built not on fear, but on respect. Not on silence, but on voices. Not on lies, but on truth. Applause filled the hall. For the first time in living memory, hope felt real. The old council still clung to a few strongholds, but their days were numbered. The galaxy had turned. A new era had begun. Adrian's reflection. Late at night, Adrian stood alone on the balcony of the hall. Stars shimmered above, countless and endless. Rika approached quietly. You should rest, she said softly. Adrian shook his head. I was just thinking. A few years ago, humanity was nothing but a small voice, ignored and mocked. And now? He gestured at the stars. Now we stand at the center of change. Rika smiled faintly. Because when the council's lies were loudest, we chose to speak truth. Adrian looked up, his eyes steady. And we must keep speaking it. Power can twist even the purest heart. We must remember why we fought, not for rule, but for freedom. Epilogue. A new era across the galaxy. Change spread like dawn, breaking over darkness. The Vayari swam free in oceans no longer taxed dry. The Koran built homes without sending sons to die for the council. Worlds once silent spoke loudly at the new assembly. And on Earth, children looked up at the stars not with fear, but with wonder. Humanity's rage had boiled over. The council's lies had been broken. What rose in their place was fragile, imperfect, but real. Hope. And as the galaxy turned toward a new future, one truth could not be denied. This was humanity's era. Not of conquest, but of courage. Not of chains, but of freedom. The storm had passed. The dawn had come.